Hey guys, Michael here. Oh, it's good to be back. I had some great time off. Went camping up in the Snowy Range Mountains. Oh man, it was absolutely beautiful. And I have some wonderful experiences to share with you guys. And one of those was talking with a mountain. And I'm going to get to that. But before I get to that, I'm going to tell you about some of my other experiences that I had while I was up there. One of them I noticed was that I've known this for a while that the trees, the water, and everything else has its own little consciousness, and they all have their own stories to tell with the energies that they bring. Now, something I got to realize and be a lot more in touch with while I was there was the river. The river actually has a lot of lessons and that it taught me, not only with just energy, but with in life in general. And some of those lessons that were taught was like, you can't always stand like a pillar, but you have to be fluid with how things go in your life, and you have to roll with the punches, as you will. And that's general advice, a lot of people give. But you know, the big thing I found is like the elements have their stories to tell if you're willing to listen and their own understanding to bring to you. And like, I could tell you stories all day and night, but my point is get in touch with them and actually become sensitive to where you can really begin to feel into those energies and have them where you begin to understand them. And the more you're around these energies and the more you become in tune with those energies around you and the more you soak in, the more the lessons of what they are and what they're talking to you about soak in and become a part of you. So those are some things that you can really take away from this is get in touch with things. Get in touch with the elements like water. Go to a river, and I mean a clean one, of course. Or go to the earth. Go look into fire. Go feel the air of a mountain on a mountaintop rushing past you. Take that in and understand them. You can take energy from the dimensions and learn from them as well. And it takes some time for those energies to settle in. And what do I mean by energies and all of these other things? The energies, or what I mean is basically it's information that is passed into you and kind of starts to integrate into you. Like, for example, the best way I can describe this is like when you have a teacher, like, and for some reason you just feel something about them, and it's just being in their presence, you're able to learn what they're trying to teach you when other teachers weren't even able to give you that. This works in very much the same way. Like the teacher that hits their own energy is going onto you and going over you, helping you understand what they're trying to teach. And the rivers, the mountains, it's all the same way. But you've got to be just a bit more in tune to where you become sensitive to listen. And what do I mean by listening? When you meditate, your auric field naturally expands and moves outward to the point where while it's outward and expanded, what happens? Things are coming into your auric field and then they pass through to you, through the brain and into the soul, to where they go into the mind, to where you see these amazing things, but sometimes you don't quite understand them, or you have that feel for them but don't know how to quite put words to it. It takes time to soak that in. And you see this oftentimes with, when like a professor or a teacher, if you've ever been in classes, for a lesson that takes time to settle in, and then it finally clicks. And it's very much the same way. When you take in energies of something, it has to take time to settle in, and once it does, it clicks and you're able to voice it. and be able to pass it on. And these experiences we have here, we first discover the internal, and then we take from the external, because it's all these new experiences are always coming in and adding to our own energies and lessons. So not only is our energies lessons and information, and they're also power too and life force, but they're also lessons. So that's something to take away from this as well. And some of the things that the river taught me was that water can be a great healer for old hurts. Like when you're a healer and you pass your hands over somebody, you can use source energy, but you can also use other energies from the elements, like water. Water is very good for diluting old, negative, and toxic energy in the body, and it helps cleanse out the body of toxins, so the actual root of the problem can be brought up. When a person is being healed, first, like when they're starting to be healed, they'll have a coolness go over them, and then fire comes next to transform that into to where it's fully healed. So, that is one thing I learned alone of how to do while I was there. And we believe we have a reviewer. If you guys have any questions so far, you can put them in the Q&A. And there's no questions yet, but if there are any questions, I'll answer them at the end, or I'll refer back to this. But now let's actually get to the mountain, what I learned there. And some of you that follow me on Facebook, on a group that I work with, I talked about this a little bit, that on that mountain, the mountain taught me, like, how does Source unconditionally love somebody, even if they've done the most terrible of things in the world? How does it happen? Or how do people understand each other and relate to each other? How do they do it? The answer it gave me was it's because it understands. It understands them. When you understand somebody, or that being and what they've gone through, their emotions, their history, and who they are overall, and these experiences that make us feel and bond us together, that is how you can begin to love somebody unconditionally, or even forgive somebody, because you understand why they did something the way they did, or you understand why they did something. And some people have done some very awful things, like unimaginably awful. And some, I don't even know if I can quite comprehend how awful. But at the same time, they're still human beings. And how did they become that way? How did they become so twisted in that way to where they felt like that was the way to act? And it's that understanding of how they got there. Or let's take a look at this. When a person, like a girl, for example, comes from a very abusive home, and then she wonders why later in her life she draws men that are terrible to her, and she's like, why did I deserve this? It's because she may love those men in her heart and she may be drawn to them, but it's because they feel like home in a way. The home that she knew, even though it was painful, it was still home to her, and it's that draw. And so that's why when I often work with people, I counsel them to work on themselves first and find that love for themselves and healing those things, so they are no longer drawn to those experiences. And you can say that's the law of attraction or whatever, but I'm going to be very serious and real with you guys, because I feel that I should be, because I may know a lot of this stuff, but you guys are human beings just like me, and I may come from a different place, or even from another dimension or whatever, and I may have memories of those, but we are still beings that share heart-to-heart connections. And I believe that you guys believe that you deserve the truth of matters, not just something that's fluffy and you know anyone can toss out. I believe in giving you guys real experiences. Let's see if there's any questions. And you know, I see often in the spiritual community that some people say emotions are weakness and that you shouldn't have them. But I beg to differ, because emotions are what tie us together, that make us feel. And if we didn't feel anything, why would we do this? Why would I be here if I didn't feel like I could make a difference or try to help someone and make the world a bit of a brighter place before I leave? And I don't mean that I'm going to die or anything, but I want to at least make an impact on this planet before, you know, my years are up or whatever. And you know, I may live longer, who knows? But I want to make this world a brighter place. And I give that to you from the bottom of my heart, really. Because to me, when I see people, they'll be in agony, pain, and they don't know where to turn to. And as a healer, when they come to you, they're in a very vulnerable position that takes a lot of swallowing of their pride, and it's kind of very humbling that they come to you in the first place. But the other thing that the mountain taught me was, you know, we have this unconditional love for people, and when you begin to understand them and you begin to perceive how they are, that you begin to really have a feel for them. And sure, sometimes you can't save everyone, but you try. And it taught me as well that these energies that the mountain had, it was entirely made out of Smokey and rose quartz. You know, we all have the power to make those energies. And as a healer, I'm going to try to bring these energies in now from what I remember and can transform them into here. So I'm going to imbue this video with these energies from here on out. And I want you to take a moment to feel these, and I'm holding my hand up for a reason to make these energies into this video. Now, the question is, can you feel it? And the, you know, energy, or whether you call it energy, magic, or whatever, it's subtle. And just feel for it. And you know, in some ways I've been broadcasting this energy since the beginning too, but now you should really feel it. You can get a feel for it. And I'm hoping, you know, later on I'm going to teach you guys how to transform energies and make energies with your own hands of other dimensions, elements, and whether, or that rose quartz like that mountain. And you know, each thing, whether it may be the same crystal, has their own little thing about it where it's a little different than the rest of it. Or like no two amethysts are the same, like no two rose quartzes are the same. But anyways, if there's no more questions, I'm going to end this video in about a minute. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've got some plans coming up. I'm hoping to have Contessa Miller come on here again, and she's going to talk to you guys about like how she works as a healer and as a Reiki healer, and we'll go from there. All right, have a great day, guys.